Hello.
Oh shit, we're live. What's up, everybody?
Welcome to the podcast, the 9 to 5 boys. It is your boys, Eric and Gil.
Hello.
Shalom.
Shalom.
That's not offensive.
Whatever. No, it's not. I think it's a
Yeah.
positive greeting. We're not doing what Kanye's doing or anything. We're not saying DeathCon 4 or 3 or whatever. That's he didn't even spell it right too. I think we talked about this last episode. But what other crazies has he been on to? You've been following it closer than I have.
Okay, so basically he's on this like black supremacy thing, which to anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's a concept that's been around since the 1930s but hasn't picked up
Mhm.
speed until like 1979. And
Okay.
what it is, it's basically white supremacy but for African Americans. So
Okay. And so does that mean that like they're intentionally like trying to mimic that, or like they're not mimic, but I should say like they're going to that extreme, or it's like the media is reporting that or something, or it's like hearsay.
it's quite literally like a pretty significant section that like believes that they are the superior race, and there's a sort of conspiracy theory, and this is the one that Kanye's on right now, that uh, black people are the original Israelites, not the Jews. The Jews are actually black people, and that their identity was stolen from them by these people.
I'm indeed dumbfounded. I don't know what to process about that. That's insane to me. What the what? Like
Yes, it is. It is true. Kanye West genuinely believes all African Americans are indeed the true Israelites, the people chosen of God. You know.
I mean, like, I'm all down for like, Black Pride and Black Lives Matter and that sort of thing because it's all fucking true and they should be proud. Because they've had a history of obvious clear repression that still persists today. But
Yeah.
that's a bit of an extreme I just can't get behind. And like Kanye has just he spent the last I want to say what 6 years destroying his entire legacy by just sharing his thoughts, or maybe even longer, because he's known historically for doing dumb shit. Like it all, I think it all was like I don't keep up with that asshole. I don't give a fuck about him, but I'm sure the antithesis of it was like when he stepped on stage to talk about like Beyonce should have won the award or whatever instead of Taylor. I don't even know what that was about either. Was that like Artist of the Year or some shit? I don't even.
Yeah, I think it was like another like a thing where he had to somehow make it about himself, but also like with his whole like clearly like Black Pride thing, obviously a perverse like version of it. Like he was, saying like, I know, this award goes to, Taylor and everything, but like Beyonce, greatest artist of all time, like.
That's an instance where he actually didn't say that he was the greatest of all time. I will say it's a not impressive showmanship, but it is a mark towards the right step. But then he didn't really change after that. He's still an egotistical fuck, and now he's just fucking manic. So that's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
He literally tweeted he's off the meds, so it's like I think like that's the major fucking problem, man. Like he just needs to be he needs to get back on him, stabilize a little bit, and like he's just it's either that or it's like maybe he's just making his own choices. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know. It's a weird separation, but I mean, and now I've read that he's apparently going to buy Parler or whatever. Which if I'm correct, I think Candace Owens owns or something. She's the one who runs it.
I think it's either her that runs it or her husband is the one that owns and runs Parlor.
Maybe it's her husband. I got that mixed up. Also, she's married. Like
Yeah, I know, right?
I don't understand. Who's the husband actually? I'm gonna Google this. I'm really curious. I knew it. I knew he was white. God damn it. I knew he was white. He looks like he's actually pretty attractive, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm sure he's like a shit person for like seeing any value in Candace Owens. But like he
Yeah.
looks like he looks like discount Taron Egerton, you know what I mean? Like Dollar Tree Taron. Let me see if I can put this on the camera here.
Well, okay,
Like
let it focus a little bit. Wait, pull it back a little bit. See if
pull
we can.
back, pull back.
Wait, no, pull forward. My bad. Pull forward. Okay, I can kind of see it, and I'm actually kind of mad about that. Like, what the?
Yeah, it's like she pulled a baddie. I will give her that credit. She pulled a baddie.
Yeah, she did, but probably like two equally terrible people just
Oh no,
hanging
for
out
sure.
and
I'm
doing
sure he's got
things.
like some fucked up ideologies. If he's like, yeah, she's all right, like I don't know. But I
Well,
mean,
if he's like
yeah,
running Parlor, which is like the right wing equivalent of like 4chan, like it's got to be a cesspool. Like,
it's supposed to be a very free speech app, right? It's got to be as bad or even worse than 4chan. I don't think anything's going to get worse than 4chan though. Is the B board still around?
it is, it is, it is.
Yeah, I'm sure that's still horrendous as usual. And I think I'm gonna quote Mike, or I'm gonna paraphrase Mike Birbiglia on this. He's a great comedian. Viewers, if you're watching, check out all of his specials on Netflix. He's hilarious, especially Thank God for Jokes. That one just cracked me up through and through. But anyway, in that special, he makes the point. He's like, if someone says "I'm joking" at the end of a joke, it's not a funny joke. People don't have to like. You don't have to tell them that you're joking. They should already be able to get it and laugh about it. Or if it's a very intricate joke, like it'll take some time. But like, you don't. If you ever say "I'm joking," it's like you usually say it after you've offended somebody. You know what I mean? Just to try and lighten the mood. And that's not like. He also goes on to say like people who are bad at telling jokes have ruined jokes because of someone who's like they're in the office or some shit and they've said like nice tits Susan and she's like what and he's like I'm joking it's not going to really work over well with HR. They're like okay no more jokes like Mike Birbiglia tells the bit much better than I do.
Well, no,
But no it's
it's 100% true because like if you say like I'm joking after saying something terrible that in no way is recognized as funny. It's like saying I'm not racist, but and then proceeds to say the most racist
right,
fucking
exactly.
thing.
Yeah, just proceeds to say the most horrendous thing you've ever heard in your life. Like I'm sure the next time Kanye says some shit like that, we're gonna hear some extreme shit. You know what I'm saying? Like he's gonna be like, I'm not racist,
Dude,
but and like he just goes on to have this horrible rant that can't even be like published online or something. It's that horrendous.
he fucking
Um,
sped run you to that because he was on the podcast, LeBron James podcast, The
oh
Shot.
dear God,
Yeah, because he's good friends with Kanye, so he's like, yeah, I'll give
he's
you.
gonna give him a chance.
Yeah, he's gonna give him a chance, clear the air on his statements on Twitter, and it's gonna be good. They couldn't release any clip of the episode. It was that offensive.
Wow, I'm just like I knew it was gonna happen, and it happened before I said that I knew it was gonna happen. That's I'm not psychic or anything, but that's man.
Like literally, like one of the
That's why I haven't even heard of that. I was like, he was on LeBron, like you know what I mean? Like he was on LeBron's pod. Like
yeah.
I was dumbfounded.
LeBron
But
James was just like, "Oh fuck, man, why you gotta go and do that?"
what I want them to do is I want them to mute it and release his reactions to what Kanye is saying. I think that's gonna be the best content in years on the internet. He's just gonna be like, just like
Oh my god,
it's gonna be fucking hilarious, dude. God,
dude.
no, he's insane, and he needs to like. I shouldn't say insane. I was just saying he's got some mental health issues. I don't want to like denigrate that. I also work in mental health, so I shouldn't be doing that. But so retract that statement. But no, he's just like off the deep end, dude. He needs some serious. I think Jamie Lee Curtis put it really well. She was like having some emotional interview on something, and like she was talking about like how she woke up to like seeing that he tweeted like that shit about like the DEF CON whatever, and like I don't want to repeat the whole sentence. One, because it's not. I don't want to have to air that whole thing. It's just horrendous.
Yeah.
And two, I don't want us to like get removed or some shit by accident. So anyway, so when he said that shit, she's like, she was in shock. I'm gonna paraphrase again, but she was saying like, she said something along the lines of like she hopes that he gets like some help soon because like she knows she's actually being very sympathetic. And then also like I heard that like the National Holocaust Museum had DM'd him or emailed him. I don't know which format, but they messaged him in some electronic capacity, and they were saying like they want to educate him and tell him why his statements are so dangerous, and they said like stuff like that is what led to the Holocaust in the first place. And it's very important because like I mean like don't get me wrong, I think like making jokes is fine. I'm not saying don't make any jokes, and certainly a joke can be in poor taste, but it should still be like clever and funny. You know what I mean? Like it should still be palpable to a wider audience. You don't want to shoot off the deep end or anything, but like also
Yeah.
you do it like he said that wholeheartedly. He said that with his full ass chest, and it's like that stuff is like that's not that's not okay or anything. That's like people. He's influential. It's like he's an artist. He's
Yeah.
people listen to him. He's got a major platform, and yeah, and then it's also like I will note the horrendous stuff following like what he was doing with like him and Pete or whatever when they were together, and like that all just got joked about, which like some of it was funny, I will admit, but it's also like that's a real life dangerous situation. And then now recently he like leaked the name of his daughter's school, so like Kim has to now up security and shit. Not
Yeah.
just for her kid, but for the other kids. There could be some mad fucking guy who's like, we've already got school shootings, man. We've had Sandy Hook like a decade ago. Oh my god.
Yeah.
We've had other shootings since, of course. It's never fucking ending. It feels like every other day there's something, or there was for a while. I don't know if there's been any mass shootings in the cycle, but anyway,
If it
you know,
was, it was probably drowned out by fucking Kanye's bullshit. I mean, let's be real here. And then also Alex Jones with his fucking $1 billion to the parents of Sandy Hook.
yeah, and then he was like, and I think Alex Jones, I can't tell if he's just hiding the pain or something, but he was like joking about it on his show. And like, don't get me wrong, I fucking despise that guy. I do want to say, I want to make it clear, I don't support any of his views. I don't support any of his content, except maybe one clip. And it was really funny and artistic because it was like he's playing Frank Sinatra's what's the song? My Way, right? He's playing My Way, and
Yeah.
it bellows and echoes, and he's playing old clips of his show, and he's just sitting there with a smirk on his face, and like I think he salutes at one point. That's like he's not a good person, but that was some pretty gold content. That's a pretty good way to deal with the situation, and it's a pretty good send off to the death of maybe he's a character, maybe he just authentically believes what he says. I really think he like authentically believes like everything he says. Like I know for a while people were like, "Oh, it must be a character or something," and I think that was one of his defenses when he first got slapped with a lawsuit or something or a cease and desist. But like, no, he's just full on, like it's like if it's a bit, right? Like there's
Yeah.
a point to stop the bit. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, you've taken the bit too far. It's like people are getting harassed, their lives are being harmed just after they've lost their fucking loved ones. Children, they've lost their child, an extension of themselves, something they'll never get over, dude.
Yeah.
And it's like you like constantly harass them and stuff and make these claims, and it's like that's just even if it was a bit, that's just taking the bit too far. Again, people who are bad at telling jokes ruin fucking jokes. He's not good at telling jokes. He's just like good at being a bad human being, and like then he's like ruining jokes for others because he's like, oh well, I was just joking or whatever, playing a character. It's like no, when a good comedian knows when the bit is over, dude. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you know when to pull back.
Like the thing that could have worked with Alex Jones is like if he was just like a regular crank on the radio and like maybe like started a podcast and shit, which would lead to Infowars. If it was just that, and he was just spouting all these conspiracy theories, and he had no real fan base. People were just coming to like poke and laugh at him. That
Yeah,
would have
if
been
he was some
fine.
village idiot or something, right? Like
Exactly, but because like he came in at the right storm, with the rise of like the incredible political divide we have and the fucking craziness being brought to the surface, and them getting an actual like platform. It's
well, yeah, and
like,
it's also like no,
yeah,
go on. Sorry, I don't
no,
mean to
it
cut
was
off.
like it was a matter of time before he actually had like a crazy fan base that actually genuinely believes the things that he says instead of
Well,
just
yeah,
like knows it's just ridiculous.
well, that's like the power of the internet, right? It's like it's the greatest information and misinformation tool in existence, right? Like, I'm going to quote Filthy Frank here, who again, like, I actually quite like his bits. He knows when he took the joke too far, but he
Yeah,
was
and he
also just
actually
very good
quit
at
on a
doing
good
it.
high. He quit on a good high.
He knows when to stop the bit. You know what I mean? Like he's good, and he also got out like before the whole demonetization storm or the adpocalypse as they called it.
And
But
cancel culture,
no,
don't forget that too.
yeah. I'm glad he's doing well. Like,
Yeah.
but like I think that's like what helps is like he made it clear that Filthy Frank is a character, and like he exercised it explicitly. He was like, dude, like this is not what I believe. This is just like a character. Like Filthy Frank is like he describes him as like the worst form of humanity possible. He's like he's depraved and like horrendous and says outlandish shit. But anyway, so like I was talking about Joji, and what was the point I was making? It was about like
He had a quote about like the
oh
age
yeah,
of
the
the
internet.
internet.
So it's
Yeah.
like so he said now I believe there have always been stupid people, but the internet provides great opportunity for stupidity to be expressed and paraded. Um, and in today's age with the internet, ignorance is a choice, and people are still choosing ignorance. So it's like I think that's the problem is like the internet provides great opportunity for people to be highly educated and knowledgeable, but also it provides them an ability to be very stupid because people could post like I was seeing a TikTok the other day where the guy kind of broke it down. He was like, you could Google like, is coffee good for you? Or like, no, I think he started with like, is coffee bad for you? So like there was a study that showed like, oh, it could cause blindness. or like you googled like is coffee good for you, and it's like it could really vitalize a lot of good things or whatever for you, and so he was like, well, what do I fucking believe, right? It's like, and then you put that in perspective of like some fucking uh, you know, some poor guy who feels targeted or hated or whatever, and you have some guy who's like spouting like, you know, like validation for him, because that's all humans want is just validation. They want to feel heard, they want to feel listened to, they want to feel cared about, right? And so like when you have a guy who's pursuing that in all the wrong ways, it's like that's when you birth far right movements like Infowars, the Proud Boys, etc.
Yeah.
Um, Fuck, we got surprisingly deep early on in the pod. Goddamn. Doing a whole political breakdown. Sweet.
I mean, yeah, because like it's still very relevant, especially QAnon too. Like, I mean, it's kind of de-evolving to like weird subsects of it, like
All of them are creating their new conspiracy theories, and they don't believe the others, even though they all have batshit crazy conspiracy theories. And that's also a real world example of like how dangerous it can be. Because there was a fucking guy who shot up a pizza joint because he thought like there was a conspiracy theory of like children being sacrificed and whatever the fuck in there.
yeah.
It's like a whole. It was like a pedophile ring or something. It's like,
By the way,
and
we want to reiterate, he didn't actually shoot anyone in the pizza place. He just fired 2 shots into it, thinking they have like a secret dungeon where they're keeping like kids and
oh, and he was
whatnot.
gonna like hold them like hostage or whatever. He's gonna be like, I got a fucking gun. Tell me where the fuck it is. Like, you know, like that was his thinking.
Yeah, came in with like a Springfield rifle, like he's in the old West, and it's like, everybody, listen up.
Jesus Christ. Like that's like it's good that no one was like physically harmed or killed, but like that's also just psychologically damaging. Like they're gonna have trauma for the rest of their lives. They're probably gonna have to take years to get back to that pizza joint, and that poor pizza joint is gonna lose some business. You know what I'm saying? Like
Dude, they're gonna
maybe.
eat
I don't
like
know.
a New York slice and just get like Vietnam War
Flashbacks.
flashbacks.
Yeah, it's fucking horrendous, dude. It's like
Yeah.
that's the real world example of what that dangerous thinking can do. And I don't think it's necessarily like a I don't think it's all the problem of like the far right or whatever. I mean, certainly with the internet and the access to that sort of information, I think it's also like partly like it's division on both sides, because like both sides are horrendously like you're wrong, shut the fuck up, like, you know. And you know, it's I'm usually, I'm gonna be frank with the pod, like I'm usually consider myself like a left leaning centrist. I'm very left on social policies and that sort of thing, and all that sort of stuff. But I will call out shit when it needs to be called out, because that's
Yeah.
important. That's what makes you, I think, educated. And like, you know, I mean, and also no one's perfect, but anyway, I mean, it's just important to point out the hypocrisy. But I mean, it's not going to change. They're all politicians. So it's like the only politician I really appreciate is Bernie. He's been consistent across the board his whole life. He's been a great man, just a great. I would love to meet him one day, shake his fucking hand, give him a big old grandpa hug. I fucking love that guy. Anyway,
Exactly.
but
Exactly. And honestly, the very few perfect people in the world rarely ever, get involved in like politics, period.
well,
Like
no, because it's
they
like a filthy
just
game, dude.
they're either like a very good people person and just want to have fun, hang out and just make people feel good, or they just want to like, be left the fuck alone for the most part and just kind of vibe, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's uh like the perfect person is just almost non-existent. Almost.
Well,
But
yeah. I mean, there's certainly like very good people in this world. They have the sense to not get into such a gross game, a dirty game such as politics or capitalism. But
yeah.
anyways, I mean, um, yeah, that's horrendous. But so back to the earlier point, I think it's like there's just a great back and forth, and I think there needs to be like a practice of compassion, of maybe open curiosity, right? Like you're not going to convince these people, the far right I'm referring to not believe this conspiracy bullshit. If you're just labeling them or throwing insults at them, certainly a lawsuit makes a good point. It hurts him, certainly financially. Makes a point that no one can say this shit without getting some serious consequences, which is
Yeah.
awesome. I think that's also something the Dahmer series highlighted, is like it's to make a point. They don't care about the money; they're just making a point. But you know, yeah. But it's definitely, yeah. Things are fucked, and I do, excuse me, I just ate. I do think wholeheartedly we could like be looking at like some civil fucking unrest for the next generation. Honestly, next 20 years maybe.
Yeah.
It's gonna be dangerous times, man. It's gonna be fun times.
Well, see, that's what I'm hoping with like the increase, amount of like monopolies and whatnot, and corporations just being like absolutely controlling over our everyday lives,
Hmm.
and with the increased amount of like technology we have nowadays, specifically cybernetics and robotics. I'm fingers crossed that like if we don't turn this world into Mad Max first, we're going into the cyberpunk universe. Like, let's go, baby.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, like, I don't think. Well,
Do I want to be owned by Amazon? Not really, but if it means I get like cool robot parts, like that's fine then.
yeah, it's like part of the terms and conditions or whatever. When you like order a package, they're like, if you have a 1 in 10 chance to like be turned into a cyborg, some shit like that. Like you're like, ah, that's 1 in 10. What couldn't happen to me. Couldn't be me.
Do you want some
Um,
cybernetics? You got to sell your soul to the company.
yeah, for real. I
Yeah,
think corporations are, again, I think money's the root of all evil, but
it honestly is. It
there's
really
so much
is.
of it. But yeah, I don't know, dude. That's horrendous. But anyway, off of that topic, I had my first week of work. Just got that done last week. Had just got back today for work. Of course, it's a 9 to 5. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
It was cool, man. It was tight. So I work at a what's called a regional center. So that's like a center that like um, that was developed like Lanham Act was like what 60 years ago or something. It was like I think it was like Kennedy administration. So it was like 50, 60 years ago. They like started almost 60 years ago. They started like regional centers to get people like help and stuff, and it's for individuals with like intellectual disabilities, so anything like Down syndrome, autism, whatever. Um, and so it's pretty cool. So I mean, like I've just been doing trainings all week, obviously, because I'm just trying to get used to the gig and stuff. Except it was good timing because Friday we ended up doing a beach day because I guess they plot like they do 2 outings a year. So like this was the summer outing, so I still have an outing to go to in December. So like I came in at the right time. So we went to the beach, did some barbecuing. Well, one of my new colleagues did, which was very nice. He's very good. He did a lot of fish and like there was some short rib,
Ooh.
which was cool. And some corn, dude. And then when I was at work, it was mostly just trainings this week. So like I sat through like an all day training on Monday, Thursday, and today, which was like it's a lot of information at once, but it's cool. And I think today was very in depth, which was nice. Oh, and they gave us free food, free lunch in the training. So it's like I got a free meal 3 times so far at work,
Wow.
which is dope. My last place would not have done that at all. Again, I'm not going to mention name or anything,
Yeah.
but it would be like pulling teeth to get them to do some shit like that. So that's cool. I appreciate that, and yeah, it's been a good first week. I'm eager to, and it's very it's a good sign that people are like, oh, I've been here for 8 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever it may be. Like some people are just like they've spent a chunk of their lives here, so it's like, all right, so this place must be worthwhile. You know what I mean? Like at my last place, not a lot of people could say that. It was not a lot of lifers there, and the lifers that were there were very unhappy. But
Yeah.
so yeah, so it's been cool, man. I'm excited, and I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna do it forever. I think I'm definitely gonna at least do it for 5 years because I get health care for life after I work there for 5 years because they're federally funded and state funded, which is sweet. But yeah, so good first week at work.
I mean, honestly, like, I think for most people, and this is not at my job at all. Like, I love my job so much. I want to keep this job forever that I'm working
Hmm.
at. But I think for most people, like, they just want to be able to, like, have the least uncomfortable way to, like, pay for things and rent and, like, all kinds of stuff. Just kind of make it.
Well, yeah, humans aren't built for work. Work is an entirely human concept. I
Yeah.
don't think there's like, I mean, like there's other species that have like hunter gatherer type of things, right? But like they don't fucking charge them to eat the food that they don't pay them for gathering the food. They don't, and the people who gather the food don't monopolize on it and charge people for eating the fucking food. Like a bunch of monkeys will go get some fruit or some shit, and they'll share it with the fucking pact or something. Unless there's like a dick, they'll obviously put him in his place. But like
Yeah.
that's how it works in any other animal kingdom, any other animal species on Earth. Like we're the only ones with currency that we know of. I mean, other animals can't communicate with us the way that we communicate with each other, and vice versa. But yeah, it's just insane, dude. It's insane.
Yeah, no, like pre, like society and whatnot. Like humans were like getting hairline fractures and serious like deformations based on like how much physical work they're putting into to actually get their supplies and everything to survive.
Hmm.
And then like agriculture comes along and it makes things easier until like then we have the concept of like, oh, like, uh industrialize things, like make it
Hmm.
super duper easy to get what we want, but at the same time got to put in the physical work to make the money to get what you want. So
Right, exactly, and that's where then they developed like, well, I mean, also like once agriculture came around, they really did start charging. Like they were like, oh, I'll sell you some cows. Like they were starting trade and stuff. And I'm sure maybe even early Neanderthals were doing some form of trade. But like, I mean, they were probably just taking care of each other. They didn't have
yeah,
shit. And they were, I don't have you guys. I'm gonna die. Like,
for the most
or I'm
part,
gonna
the
go
bartering
back.
system like worked. Like
Right.
it,
It's
it
like
was
it's not that hard. It didn't increase inflation or anything. Not that I know
yeah.
of. I'm not like an expert in economic history.
Also, again, it was like another concept in which like we put like inherent value like that we perceive on an object that we want, and we
Hmm.
trade an object that like we perceive as a similar value to that. It's like fucking money. It's only worth as much as like the value we put into it in the first place.
Right.
Fight me,
Exactly. It's like.
fucking fight me on that.
Yeah, like it's very, and it's obviously determined as well by like, the constant ebb and flow of supply and demand. But like you think like, bartering was like people would be like, I'll give you two chickens for that one cow. Throw in a third chicken and I'll give you the cow. And you're like, drive a hard bargain there, man. Just might do it. Like it's not, and what's now done is we've created standards of like of cost and stuff, and then like corporations, like we think back to like this example of the cow trader and the chicken trader. Like the cow trader has a monopoly on cows, right? He gets all the fucking cows in the countryside, whatever the fuck. I don't know. He does it amazingly. He like invents barbed wire and shit and like takes them, right? Like let's imagine that, right? So like he monopolizes on that shit. It's not what happened. This isn't like a good history lesson. Don't take this for word. But then what he does is he's like, I'm gonna have a set price on the cow. So it's like he's gonna be like, there are four chickens, and he's like, there was two chickens yesterday. It's like, well, you know, where else are you gonna get your fucking cows, man? And so like that's what the gas companies have done, and like the fucking grocery industry, and it's just like it's horrendous, dude. All these industries and these monopolies have created it, so it's challenging for regular folk who aren't getting any increase in payment, by the way. Like let's say in this cow chicken example, the guy gets paid like, seven chickens an hour, right? Like so he's spending an hour's worth of work. He's spending over half his paycheck on one fucking cow. So it's like, like.
Yeah, and it's like it's fucking phenomenal that you got people like blaming Biden for the high gas prices, and I'm just like, how the fuck he had influence on that, man? Like he just woke up to give a speech. Like, what are you on right now?
Yeah,
Like,
he's not like controlling that. It's not his fault. But what he can do is he can actually, well, I know there's been like challenges. He's tried to like introduce a bill for capping gas prices. It was shot down because Republicans.
yeah,
And so they still shut up. It's the checks and balances system that makes it very hard for anything to get done. But it's also, I'm not denigrating the checks and balances system. It's actually very important if it just worked a little better. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to get into
yeah.
that. But no, it's like it's not his fault. It's just the gas, and it's not even the gas is like any more costly because it's like in low supply or something. It's just like the gas companies are like, everyone's going back to work. Oh shit, they're driving again. Well, let's up the gas prices to make up for lost profits because they've already made like, I'm assuming billions. I always read these fucking articles where there's like, oh, this corporation got like 2 billion in profits. It's like, man, that's just fucking evil. Like
Yeah.
I can't even fathom having $1 million in my bank account. I wouldn't know what to do with that astronomical amount of money. Like,
I think it's
so
just because
having
like
like,
I think it's because like most Americans, and I'm not saying like just Republicans. I'm just saying most Americans in general, like regardless of political affiliation and whatnot, they just don't understand how basic economics works. If you got a company that's basically controlling all of the single product they're providing, and it's a product that everyone needs if they have a car or some sort of transportation system that requires said product.
because we built the transportation system to utilize cars and not fucking public transit like buses or trains, and that's another topic I'll get into. But go on.
Yeah, which could be all electric if done right, but whatever. Like everyone's got a car. Good luck trying to get anywhere in California without a car. So, you got
Yeah, VTA sucks, dude. I'll tell you what, dude.
yeah,
I took the
it's
bus system for years when I was in college, like the transportation system in America, and it's got a huge spending budget. I don't, I mean, I get this information from TikTok, and so they don't cite their sources or anything, but like, they were saying like America spends 17 billion a year on public transit, like federally, right? Like across the board. That's how it goes. But here's the thing that Japan does. They've got so many different systems that are like um, so very much focused on like helping passengers and keeping it clean, and they've got a 99.9% punctuality rate. That means they're almost 100% of the time they're on time. You know what I mean?
And
It's like
you're leaving out the best
and
part. They actually literally apologize to the passengers if they are even like 2 minutes late to their destination.
hmm
Yeah.
and you don't see that in America. They're just like, well, man, I hate traffic, like whatever. It's like it's and you know how much they spend?
How
It
much?
was like 1.6 billion. It was like 1/17th. It was like 1/8 almost of what America spends, if I do the math right. But yeah, that's like insane.
17 billion. Where the fuck does that money go? Like what? What the fuck?
It's like, dude, and it's like New York subways are trash, and like public transit's just not good. It's like it's a horrendous system, dude. And there was another thing that like they were mentioning is like Japan has seat warmers on trains during the winter.
Okay, aside from Japan being a little rapey sometimes, like they got a pretty good thing going on. Like shit.
Well,
Like
yeah, there's a huge issue. Like that's why they got the separate trains, dude. There's like, well, it's like it's very packed. So it's like you can't not harass somebody. I'm not justifying it in any way, but it's like it's just they're packed like fucking sardines, man. So it's like it's
yeah,
only inevitable. But there's certainly creeps who take advantage of it, and that's not okay.
yeah. But anyways, back to my earlier point. Like if
Or
there's
would take
like
advantage of it.
one corporation controlling like or whatever subsects whatever. If there's select companies that control the one major product that everyone needs if they have a car or some sort of form of transportation like that, they can make the prices whatever the hell they want, and that's just how it goes. Like, you want to fight that, fight them. Don't blame a guy who had nothing to do with that.
Yeah, it's like I think like what this country does so wrong that other countries don't do is that everything has to be so fucking expensive. Everyone's looking for an extra fucking dollar, man. It's like, and I
Yeah,
mean, I get it. The system we've created is very like, it's horrendous. There's a huge crisis of homelessness in the country. I wouldn't be able to. I don't know the number of homeless people federally off the top of my head, but I do know that like, San Jose in California here has like a huge homelessness problem. I worked with them for 3 years, and it's like, and just the money that is being given is either not being spent wisely or is being spent too much because other motherfuckers have made it too goddamn expensive to get some basic needs or whatever, right? So it's like it's just it's on a downfall and a downward spiral, and I'm actually happy to see it. I'm happy to see the fall of capitalism in real times, dude. I'm hoping it comes soon, but also like it's not probably going to come anytime soon because the problem with the system we've created is that the ultra rich are the ones who are powerful and making the decisions because there's the concept of lobbying for those who are unaware.
yeah,
Lobbying is like paying some fucking politician a bunch of money to sign a bill or to not sign a bill that's going to ultimately benefit the company, because why else would they be giving a politician a bunch of money? They're not doing it for the goodness of their heart. They're a corporation looking to make bans. So it's like it's yeah, it makes me sad and angry when I talk about it. I'll tell you what, brother.
see, there's a philosophical idea that I strongly believe in. It's called accelerationism. Now, it's the idea that you do not try and fix a broken system, like from the inside out. Like, you have to accept that the system is completely fucked beyond repair. So you know what you
Mm-hmm.
do? You let it off the fucking rails, just speed up, continue to speed up in its decline and descent into like implosion, basically, because
Mm-hmm.
we put all these like safety guards on like a system that's already messed up, trying to slow the effects that it has on people's lives. Whereas if you just take off the handles completely and let it just keep going and going, it will eventually crash and burn spectacularly, and people will be so affected by it, they will hate it, they will despise it with every
Mm-hmm.
fiber of their being. So that way, when they create a new system that actually does improve people's lives, they will know that it could be way worse, and they're going to have to fight and strive to keep that system in place. The new one.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's just it's interesting because I don't know what the national, like, when we always talk about like in regards to mental health and especially substance abuse, is we talk about like people reaching their rock bottom, right? When things get so bad, that they hit just they can't go any lower, so they're like, all right, I gotta get out of this, right? It's like, when are we gonna have like a national rock bottom where people are just like, I'm fucking fed up, I'm gonna go to war with this shit? Because there's gonna be, I think that's gonna be the main cause of the civil unrest, is the eventual economic collapse. Because
Yeah.
yeah, it's horrendous. So
It's like it's gonna be like the movie V for Vendetta, man. Like riots in the streets, literally people ganging up on cops and literally outnumbering them and shit, and
oh
then
please, I
people
mean,
robbing stores and whatnot, businesses that like is obviously not gonna affect like the workers there because they're not getting paid enough for this shit. Like hell, if anything, they're gonna join in on it. Like
mhm. And then I think also like what's going to happen is that certain news media are going to cover, like, I think all are going to cover different angles of it, and they're going to have different opinions on it, and that's not going to help. That's going to create a further cycle of civil unrest because they're going to be feeding into these two different ideas of these fucking bubbles that people are in, and it's like, yeah, yeah, I worry about our country. This episode
yeah.
got fucking dark. I worry about this country. I swear to, I really, oh, I worry about it.
Dude, it's not the 9 to 5 boys if we're not talking about like the downfall of like unregulated capitalism. Like, what do you mean?
That's right, dude. We're workers. Workers of the world unite, dude.
Exactly. Like Karl Marx, had it fucking wrong, man. Like he had the right idea. He just didn't know like which direction it was gonna go. Like.
Right, no, exactly, yeah. But
Yeah.
I think he did know which direction he was going to go for capitalism.
Well, for sure, but like where his ideas were gonna go along in Eastern Europe, he was not anticipating that shit.
Yeah, fucking, ooh,
He'd
Stalin
be,
era, Russia, like, ooh,
even now, he'd be rolling in his fucking grave, like what would happen right now. Like, holy shit.
yeah, and then like the Cold War and stuff, and that's like a, man, horrendous stuff, dude, horrendous stuff. Yeah, well, cheers to the end of the world, man. Cheers to the end of the world. I truly think that we are in the end times. And or the world has already ended. We're just living in it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Like just picture us right now, like we're like just glassy eye, like we're about to cry, like shaky hand holding a cigarette as we're taking a drag, just like they're just fucked, man. They're just fucked.
that's exactly kind of how we sound right now. But
Yeah. We sound like
but I
fucking
mean,
doomers.
are we wrong, dude? It's like
No,
there
we're
is.
not, honestly.
I watched The Conjuring last night, which was a great movie, by the way. I'd never seen it. Holy shit. Holy. I'm not watching the series or franchise or whatever the fuck you want to call it. I'm just not interested enough. I think the one and done it's a perfect film. It doesn't need to be touched.
Yeah.
It does set up the sequel with like the doll or whatever. But anyway, so I was watching that, and the point I was going to make is that, like, I saw the Universal logo, and then underneath it, I don't really think about this a lot, is it said a Comcast company. So I was like, well, fuck, there's one company that owns one of the biggest studios that's existed since the dawn of film, or American film. And it's like, and that's what all these corporations are doing. Disney owns hella shit too. That's why they're doing the bundle of like ESPN plus Disney Plus and Hulu or whatever. And like, it's horrendous, man. It's something else, dude. It's something else.
See, that's why I'm like so afraid that they're just gonna get stuck on this system where like they just keep cranking out the same content because it's the same slop that people want. Whereas I can be okay with a monopoly like Disney. Okay, they're practically printing their own fucking money, so they might as well throw it at like experimental like film and TV creators who want to just create like something wild and spectacular and different. And
With properties that we know before. I think that's yeah. I think there's it does certainly provide an avenue for artistic expression when
yeah,
not having producers control it like MCU. But anyway,
yeah, like I can be fine with like a company like Disney being peak unregulated capitalism and them thriving no matter what, as
mhm.
long as they can actually like keep artistic integrity alive and whatnot, like actually keep creativity alive.
Yeah, allow like creative control from directors, let them do their vision. Like, I think like that's important. I think it's like, for instance, like the movie Intergalactic. I could tell that Kid Cudi had complete control over that, and Netflix allowed him to, and like, and that's why it worked out so well. Is like, it's a good movie. It's telling a genuine story. It's not just like some corporate bullshit that's like supposed to start a franchise or whatever. It's just like a one-off thing from a great artist who actually I really like. I fuck with Kid Cudi's music. He's definitely like he's doing some like mellow shit that's like really cool to listen to, man. He's just like, I love his beats. I love his cadence when he raps. It's like it's kind of monotone, but it's very relaxing at the same time. So it's very cool. And it was interesting
Yeah.
then to have that stark experience where you saw him being lively in the film. Like you would be excited and like emotional and stuff, and like you don't really hear that a lot in his music. You know what I mean? Like sometimes maybe, but yeah,
No, it honestly is fantastic just to see like creative people just have fun and make like passion projects and whatnot, and
yeah,
actually
for
show
real.
they're like really jack of all trades, talented. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's very effective. I think some of the best films in recent have been ones that I mean, like there have been great franchised films, but there have also been like some great independent films that are just sort of like that are just artistic and what might be referred to as indie. It's like it's very cool. Like
Yeah.
I think that's very important, and that's sort of why we keep the genre going. But I also know that like franchises sell because like if you have like a name attached to it, it's like oh shit, Halloween Ends. It's another Mike Myers. I liked Mike Myers the first time around, um, back in 1978. But like
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, and then
Well, no, the new one that came out, what is it? Halloween Ends? Is that what it's
mhm.
called? Yeah,
Yeah,
like
that's what it's called. Yeah, I just
the
said it, but yeah.
the main consensus that I've heard online is that like it's not a great movie as far as like Halloween standards go, but based on the premise of the movie, I'm like I can see why. Like the first half just feels like a completely different movie, and then Michael Myers shows up in like the third act, and you're like, "What? Oh fuck, we're in a Halloween movie! I totally forgot. Holy shit!"
Oh, is that how it is? I've heard like mixed things for sure. I've heard it's very bad.
Yeah, it
Um,
starts off with like I'm paraphrasing. I can probably look this up either right now or like correct
you could look
later,
up the
but
Cliff's notes. Like someone could leave it in the comments or something. Yeah.
yeah, but I believe one of the characters related to Laurie Strode's is like dating this guy who's like he seems nice and all, but he's a little off. So it kind of plays into the idea. It's like, oh, is he gonna turn into like some sort of like deranged killer or something? So it goes on the theme of like where does evil actually start? Is it like born, inherently in the person, or is it like made later? Which then parallels Michael Myers and his origin.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, was he always evil, or just did he suddenly snap for some reason?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a fair thing to explore. I think Dahmer did that a little bit. I watched the whole of the series, and I think I talked about this on the last episode. But it does sort of have these questions. I think it's important to understand. Obviously, as like as someone who just studied psychology, I know it's very important to explore like the constant conversation of nature versus nurture. But like, I think like when you start to take like criminal behavior and like just straight killing of people, that's like the most killing and eating of people and boiling their bodies and doing whole other horrendous shit that I don't want to mention on this episode. When you spend your days doing horrendous shit like that, it's like I don't think I don't think that should be tacked on to like something that's neurologically wrong with you because then that would just continue to internalize whatever issues. I'm sure there was some nature component that had him a little bit off, but like I think also like I think there's definitely the nurture component we need to consider because like he had surrounded himself with like dead animals and stuff growing up and was used to dissecting them. So like he then that probably does a lot to what I'm assuming was like a 10 or 11 year old boy, and so
yeah,
like that then carries on. Not that I'm blaming the father in any way. He was just doing what he thought was right. I think it's also like a question of like I always think it's like with reactions to any event, right? Like humans can experience the same events and have completely different reactions, right? Someone can be getting married and they're like, "Oh my god, I'm jumping with joy. I get to be with the love of my life for the rest of my life." Or they could be like, "Oh my god, I'm so scared. This sucks. What the fuck?"
yeah,
Yeah. And so it's all based within like what's called cognition, right? The mindset or the way of thinking that a person does, right? And so it's like I think like the way of thinking that Dahmer had was obviously very limited and didn't translate well into adulthood. And then it was also fueled a little bit by his alcoholism and definitely maybe some internalized homophobia. But yeah, back to my earlier point. I think the show did a great job of like let's just fucking bury this. Let's forget about it. Let's not forget about it, but let's just not open that chamber pot back up. You know what I mean? Like let's not make this any worse than it has to be. Excuse me, my throat's kind of fucked up.
no, that's fine. I can get that in one aspect for sure, but on the other hand, like there's a character like Peter Curtin who did immensely horrendous shit to other people. Like the fact that he isn't known about, like along with these other characters like John Wayne Gacy, Jeffrey Dahmer, and shit like that, is beyond me. But they actually went as far as to actually cut open his head and see if there was anything neurologically wrong with him. They didn't find anything except like maybe an enlarged gland that didn't really do anything psychologically to him.
Okay.
But after that, then his whole case was just dead and buried. The only thing left of him that people might actually know about him is just like his head is on display at Ripley's Believe It or Not in Wisconsin. That's it. Like,
Oh, that's kind of gross, man. Don't do that.
well, it's all dried out and mummified and shit.
But like,
Like
still,
that's
it's like you not that it's like physically gross. It's like it's just it's principle, man. It's like you're putting him literally on a you're putting a serial killer on a pedestal. It's like that's kind of like fucked up, man. That's like not okay. And maybe
yeah.
there's an argument to be made that like TV shows like Dahmer are doing that too, but I don't think it is, man. I think it does a good job highlighting the victims, um,
That is
and
true
their stories
because
and stuff and their struggles.
that's what I've heard about the series is that it highlights more about the victims and the families that were affected by his actions and
Mhm.
everything. It doesn't glorify anything he did. It just
It actually doesn't
shows.
really, not to my recollection, it doesn't show a lot of violence. It hints at it and shows kind of like a not so gruesome aftermath. It's like an early aftermath before he started boiling bodies. But they did show him cutting off a piece of human meat and cooking it and then like eating it and stuff. So like that's kind of like that's gross. But like other
Yeah,
than that, it didn't really revel in his crimes. And it was shot in the scene where he is eating the human meat is shot in a way where it's like very unnerving and you're very uncomfortable because you're like he's gonna put that in his fucking mouth. That was a piece of a person. That's like fucking gross. Um, yeah, it's horrendous, man. It's horrendous.
dude. I think like the thing that I haven't seen the series at all. This is like just everything I've read online about it because part of me wants to watch it, but also part of me thinks if I do, I might be partially glorifying his shit. But anyways,
Yeah, yeah. There's certainly that conversation to be had.
for one thing from what I've heard is that a lot of people were like kind of disturbed by the fact they humanized Jeffrey Dahmer enough where I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
that I can't really get because like at the end of the day he is a human being who did all these things like, you know, like to quote Ted Bundy on this situation, like murderers do not come out of the dark with long fangs and saliva dripping down their chin. They're the people you love. They're the people you know. They're the people you work with. Uh,
he dated one of his victims for a while. He was like regularly
yeah,
hooking up with this one guy Tony or whatever, and it's like, um, and so yeah, this person knew Dahmer very intimately, of course, and so was regularly hanging out with him and stuff, and then he eventually fucking smashed him in the head with I think it was a hammer or something.
yeah. And then Ted Bundy continues to say that like, and again, I'm paraphrasing on the rest of this, is that
Mm-hmm.
like you come to like trust and respect these people, but then one day you find out they're the most demonic person you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's how it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I mean that's I think a lot of what John Wayne Gacy did too is like he was able to hold a working job for several years. He was able to hide the bodies under the house. He was able to keep this appearance of like a normal guy, relatively normal.
Dude, he was a
Um,
regular churchgoer. He managed 3 KFCs. Like he was a, I'm trying to phrase this right, but like,
Working classist and good Christian American.
exactly. He was like,
Or he at least made that appearance to be.
yeah, yeah. He made himself out to be like just a good neighborhood guy when he's just a
Hmm.
terrible human being. Holy shit! Like,
Yeah, and then what's interesting about the show is that like John Wayne Gacy and Ed Gein make an appearance in the show in like flashback form, which is and then also like I guess I don't know if this is true, but like the day that like John Wayne Gacy was sentenced to death or was put to death was the same day that Jeffrey Dahmer was baptized in prison.
that's like
I
that's
wonder,
a
I wonder. I'm gonna check that if that's true right now. I really am curious about that.
I don't know what to say about that except that's like uh I guess you could say that's a bad miracle. Like that's wow, that is something.
Yeah, so let's see. He died March
Jesus.
10th, 1994.
Just got real quiet on the 9 to 5 boys right now. Hope you all
Got
enjoy.
very quiet. I'm in the middle of Googling. Um,
Let me soothe you with
shit.
my sultry voice.
Oh, boy.
Oh boy, I'm channeling my inner Troy Baker doing any southern accent ever.
No way. He really was baptized on the same fucking day.
Oh my god,
Wow,
no.
that's just weird. That's just weird
Oh,
coincidence,
that
man.
I feel
I
kind of
don't think like
gross
the
now.
universe works in certain ways, but that's a fucking weird coincidence, man. Um, oh,
Uh,
that makes it gross. Oh, that's weird. Oh, man.
I mean,
Okay.
not to make like a twisted comparison, but I mean like Jeffrey Dahmer was eating people, and in clearly in Christianity and some elements of Catholicism, like you are essentially like you know committing to
You're eating the body of
cannibalism.
Christ. Yeah, you're
Exactly.
eating the body of Christ. And that's I think another fair coincidence, not comparison, but coincidence to make.
Yeah, you're
Certainly.
taking a bite of a 2,000-year-old zombie. Like,
Facts, dude. Fucking facts, man.
yeah, try and fight me on that. Oh God.
Speaking of horror, dude, I saw The Conjuring last night. Oh, well, no, I was talking about that earlier, but it
Yeah,
was it was very
completely.
sick. It was really sick. It was crazy. It was eerie, and I wanted to make a comment. That's why I brought it up. So I want to make a comment that it very much does a good job of like for a long time in the movie you don't see the monster that they're like having to deal with, the demon or whatever.
Yeah,
And so like it's just shadows and like no lighting and just characters saying there's someone behind you and like long focuses on that and then like slams out of nowhere and then like just all these crazy cuts and it's a really good movie. But then when the ghosts and the demons and stuff start coming around, dude, it's like fuck, it goes down, dude. That shit was crazy. But it was a really really good movie. Yeah, just wow. Definitely had trouble going to sleep that night. But yeah.
I feel that was me after watching like Conjuring 2. I made the mistake of watching that. No, not Conjuring 2. Insidious 2, Chapter 2. That's what it was.
Oh my
Insidious.
god, yeah, that I remember watching that the first time in the theaters. I thought that was actually a really great movie.
Yeah, no, I saw that the first one on Netflix one day because I was like, oh, I heard good things about this. Let me pop this on. Pop it on. I'm like, this is amazing. This is one of the best things I've seen in a long time. And then
Great horror movie.
I hear Insidious Chapter 2 is coming out. And I'm like, yeah, I'll watch it in theaters. It can't be that scary. It fucking was. Jesus Christ. Whoever that actress was that played that sadistic mom in the third fucking act. Jesus, I hope she's a nice person because fuck me, is she terrifying.
I think like what's etched into my memory is like that one scene where it's like the long take of the ghost, the ghost brunette, who's like walking around the hallway singing "Row, row, row your boat," and then just like quiet and out of fucking nowhere just screams like something like "Look what you've done," and like that just face of her like is etched into my memory forever. I can't get it. I saw that movie fucking when I was in high school. I'm now 25, so it's like that
yeah.
is etched into my memory, dude. I think I was like 16 at the time, so it was like 9 years ago, dude. Oh my god, that movie was, that was, whew.
Yeah, just whew.
That was a
No.
hard movie to watch, man. That was a hard. It was so funny because I took a girl to go see it with me,
Oh yeah.
and I was the one who was more scared because like when I was in high school, I was dumb and didn't know anything about dating. Now I'm better at it, but I like to think so.
I think
But
you are for sure.
thank you. I've had some partners, and in the past few years, but I get laid, like telling the telling the viewers that.
God.
No, and so I was like, I was told like, okay, go take her to a scary movie. She'll be like jumping into your arms and shit. I'm like, oh yeah, and then I was doing that instead of her, so it was like, all right, yeah, that didn't work out for various reasons. I'm not going to get into it, but yeah, no. So it was just I didn't date a lot in high school. I would say I was a fucking loser in high school. I skipped my prom. Um, I did not get laid at all, which I think was honestly a good thing because I was dumb. I was a dumb teenager. I wouldn't have. I would have definitely like maybe had like either some pregnancy scares or like gotten a chick pregnant for sure. But so I'm glad I'm older and wiser now and more careful. But anyway, should we clonk out here? What do you
I
say?
I think we should honest after
Till next shift.
till the next shift. Yes.